I've got a local coffee shop that I love going to, and there's been two particular moments that I'd love to share with you from me getting coffee from that coffee shop. I'm a bit of a coffee snob, and I know exactly what it is I love to have with my coffee. And there's been days where I go to that coffee shop. I've got an expectation in my head of what it is I know I'm going to get in terms of that coffee. And there are some days where that expectation is exceeded. There was a day in particular where they gave me a taste test of a different coffee, and the coffee that I ordered was made exceptionally well. And in that scenario where my expectations were exceeded, I felt like they gave me more than I gave them. I felt like I received more than I paid or I gave. So they exceeded my expectations of what I was expecting. And in that scenario where I received more than I gave, I felt like I had to go off and tell people about this. I felt like I had to share this coffee shop with other people. I felt like I owed them something, kind of thing. And there's also been days where I've gone into that coffee shop and I had an expectation of what it is I wanted, and I know how my coffee tastes, and that expectation hasn't been met. There's maybe been a new barista, or the coffee's slightly too hot, or it's slightly too watery. And in those scenarios where my expectations haven't been met, you get extremely disappointed, and you felt like you have given more than you had received, and you really want to narcissistically and in a state of pride talk down on those people and be extremely disappointed in what they do. So whenever we have our expectations exceeded or not met, we have compensations. If they're exceeded, we altruistically want to give. If they're not met, we narcissistically want to take. So in this particular video, I'd love to share with you, there is one, universal principle that as a trader, it's incredibly important to know, because at the end of the day, you will be run by this universal principle, whether you know it or not. And I'm going to use it in this sort of context. If you're a trader and you constantly do without, in your perception, having and receiving and being rewarded for the work you're putting in, you're going to be unconsciously burnt out. You're going to have unconscious resentment build up, and you're going to be burnt out because of that. Just like in the coffee shop, if I am giving, but my coffee doesn't meet my expectations, I'm going to be resentful towards that coffee shop. So if you're constantly doing as a trader, you're putting work in, but you don't perceive reward in return, there's a very simple thing you can do as a trader to balance out that equation in your head. And that is setting some sort of reward, or setting some sort of thing you can do at the end of the day where you reward yourself for the action steps you've put in. Because if you constantly do and you don't perceive reward or return from that doing, you're gonna eventually say, enough of this, I'm gonna move on. So to ensure your long-term sustainable consistency in the market or executing on your processes, what I suggest is adding in some form of reward at the end of the day or at the end of the week. So you reward yourself for the work you do, and you keep that within fair exchange, and you're balanced and you're not volatile, and you can sustain that in the long run, because the only thing that's sustainable in the long run is fair exchange. So you can use this whole idea of fair exchange with others. It's the exact same within yourself, and keeping in do's and the haves and fair exchange is extremely important for your long-term success and sustainability as a trader.